Oops, I did it again. I made a mistake and it triggered me into an endless spiral of negative self-talk. I was flying so high, and then I got this email that opened the gremlin floodgates. It was such a surreal, out-of-body experience to watch myself get caught up in the self-recriminations and not be able to stop. I actually count myself lucky that it only took about 72 hours to course correct. In this week's podcast, I take yet another look at mistakes and the challenges and the opportunities of navigating them in the workplace. I also explore how past experiences, both personal and professional, shape our responses to errors and offer up insights into embracing imperfection, cultivating self-compassion, and building resilience in both personal and professional spheres. Hey everyone, I'm Laverne McKinnon, and welcome to the Moonshot Mentor podcast. I'm a certified career coach and grief recovery specialist. I love to help ambitious, driven people feel confident, empowered, and excited after experiencing a career setback. Whether it's from feeling stuck in a tough period or frustration from slow progress, I offer up tools and resources to revamp your path to career success. There are times when I find it hard to forgive myself for mistakes. Typically, it's when the mistakes involve money. It creates this suction for the gremlin voices, the negative self-talk, to enter my mind, my heart, my body, and they overtake me like the aliens from the Body Snatchers movie. This time, it was triggered by an email from the Los Angeles County High School of the Arts, letting me know that my youngest daughter's admission interview would be on Sunday, February 18th. My initial reaction was awesome, cool, because Aurora is on the Mammoth ski team and she had her first competition on Saturday, February 17th. So perfect, no conflict there. We'd be able to drive home that Saturday night, get a good night's sleep, and be ready to have the interview first thing Sunday morning. So when I put the date in the calendar, because my calendar is my best friend, I saw that I held Sunday, February 25th for her interview. Whoa. My stomach did a baby flip-flop, my jaw tightened, and my heart skipped a beat. I screwed up. And now you might be thinking, what's the big deal of one Sunday versus another Sunday? And that's a really good question, and it has to do with money. I'm going to give you a little bit of context here. We live in Los Angeles, and the Mammoth ski team is in Mammoth. It's a 5-hour drive one way on a good weather day. Now, my husband and I take turns driving Aurora up north every weekend, and we've been doing it since mid-November, and we'll complete the season in mid-April. Now, we don't have a place to stay in Mammoth, and we're still in the process of making friends, so there's really no couch surfing opportunities that are available to us. So that means we pay to stay in Mammoth every weekend that we go up, which is wildly expensive. It's also quite lovely, but so expensive. Believe me when I say that I did a very thorough analysis of all of our options, and the least expensive way to stay was at this place called the Tamarack Cabins, which are really, really beautiful and sort of awesomely rustic. I posted some photos on the blog showing the Tamarack Cabins. But anyway, it's so much cheaper than a hotel or an Airbnb. And the cabins have these mini kitchens, and so we pack food and we pre-cook meals so we don't have to eat out. Okay. Back to not being able to forgive myself, but these are details that are important because they're all about my trigger around being super money conscious. So the messing up of the dates of Aurora's high school interview turned into not getting a refund for the nights that we weren't staying at the Tamarack Cabins. And it's high season, and I was trying to cancel with short notice, so I get the policy. And I also hate that I wasted $1,100 on lodging that we didn't use. When I realized the extent of my mistake, an avalanche of gremlin voices buried me in self-loathing and hatred. It's a surreal experience because I'm aware of what's going on and I'm also helpless to stop it. Now, I see this a lot with my clients too, when mistake happens in their job or their job search. One client forgot to update their boss on a project, which caused a delay in delivery. Another client submitted the wrong cover letter, which was just so debilitating for that client. And then another client double booked herself and didn't realize it until she was in the Zoom room. And I've been there. It doesn't matter whether others think that the mistake is big or small or impactful or not. It's about how we perceive the mistake. What's our relationship with the mistakes? And that's often linked to how mistakes were handled when we were growing up. For me, I don't actually recall being punished or reprimanded for mistakes. What I do remember is how much my mistakes would put an extra burden on my mom. My mom was an immigrant who struggled to speak English and assimilate, and she was overwhelmed, essentially raising 3 children on her own while my dad worked his construction jobs. So there was a lot of financial stress, and I could see how difficult it was to make ends meet. So my goal was to make my mom happy and life a little bit easier for her. So when I make a mistake, I'm unconsciously taken back to the stakes of my childhood and feeling responsible for my mom's well-being. For my clients, when they're experiencing distress for making a mistake, we look to find the belief that's underlying the fear of making that mistake. It takes great effort to slow things down enough to get curious and compassionate. And it's also a painful experience to be caught in the suction of those gremlin voices that are so relentless, and they're maybe tapping into past traumas, which is why we try to unpack the underlying belief. Now, the hard truth is that while we may be able to grant ourselves grace in our personal lives for mistakes, mistakes in the workplace can be detrimental for job retention and advancement. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if every work environment was like the Cafe of Mistaken Orders? This is a cafe in Tokyo, which is formerly known as the Orange Day Sangawa. Each month, they hire people with dementia to work as servers. Inevitably, this is going to lead to orders being messed up, but because people actually come to the cafe waiting for a mistake, everyone's able to laugh it off and simply course correct when the mistake is brought to light. I love that the cafe is a safe space, and as a result, it changes the relationship with mistakes. People actually look forward to the mistake happening so they can delight in naming it, celebrating it, and seeing it corrected. The cafe is also, and perhaps most importantly, a place where individuals who are experiencing dementia can be productive, feel needed, and be a part of a community. What a powerful opportunity to practice patience, compassion, curiosity, and grace. So, what to do if you find yourself in a situation where you've made a mistake and you're not at the Orange Day Sangawa? First, you're not alone. This is a running theme in my work. When we think we are the only person who's having an experience, it creates shame. Shame cuts us off from others. This isolation feeds the negative self-talk and fuels the spiral. Knowing that you're not alone, reach out to a trusted friend or advisor. Shame cannot survive when it's brought out into the open. In a workplace situation, choose your confidants wisely. Go to a mentor or an advocate to ask for advice and guidance on how to reveal the mistake. Now, this person can be within or outside your company. For what it's worth, I try to go outside the company because the hard truth is that there's typically a lot of gossip in a workplace environment. So you want to protect yourself from that. And then finally, what's really, really critical is own the mistake. Lanny Davis is a crisis manager who's a big proponent of tell the truth, tell it early, tell it yourself. The reality is that eventually the truth will reveal itself, and you need to consider where you want to be in that situation. Do you want to be the professional who caught it early and managed it, or do you want to be the person who fled and hid? One time, I got in big trouble from a boss because I had left them out of the loop on a project. I was honestly really baffled because I was so certain that I had sent an email update, and I searched my sent inbox or my sent box, outbox, and I couldn't find the email. And I checked with my colleagues who I copied on everything, and they said they never saw it either. Clearly, I had a brain fart. I apologized to my boss, owning the mistake, and retracted the steps I took on the project without their approval. It was embarrassing, and it impacted my identity as someone who's on top of it all. And I honestly don't think our relationship ever recovered from that mistake. But in reflecting on it, I really do feel solid about my professionalism in handling the situation, which is really the best that we can offer and hope for. Now, what I'm slowly learning is to separate out my childhood wound of being a burden to my mom when I make a mistake and accepting that as humans, we make mistakes all the time. The best any of us can do is own it, learn from it, and use mistakes as a magnet for our people. The boss I was working with, who couldn't accept that my brain fart was an anomaly, was not my people. I'm in the process of building my own metaphorical cafe of mistaken orders filled with like-minded people who can get curious about blunders and help me to find new best practices. These like-minded people also hold the belief that we are all well-intentioned and are doing the best we can with the resources we currently possess. To wrap up my mammoth ski team, Loxa Blunder, I have a new best practice. No, it's not to compulsively check my work every hour of every day, although that was on the list of ideas to consider. My new best practice is to remind myself that I'm no longer a child valiantly striving to take care of my mom. I'm an adult who has the resources to respond when mistakes happen and accept the hard truth that sometimes mistakes will cost me money, opportunity, relationships, trust, or my reputation. But those costs are not permanent and can be course corrected. How do I remember my new best practice? I keep a photo of myself as a kid on my desk. All right, bottom line, mistakes are inevitable. Sort of like whenever I eat onions, I have stomach issues. That might be an overshare, but clearly I'm oversharing all the time on this podcast. It's so hard for me to embrace imperfections. But when I get the support and I refine new best practices, I'm able to build out my community and find agency. Now, one final thought. It's not so much that mistakes define us, it's really how we navigate them that shapes our identity. Do I want to be the person who hides in shame or blames others? Or do I want to be like an Olympic athlete who perseveres and takes every knock as an opportunity? So that's it for today. Head over to Moonshot Mentor on Substack. I always put journal prompts on there, and they really focus in on helping you deepen your understanding with the weekly topic. And the theme for this week is really around self-compassion as it has to do with mistakes. So lots of good journal questions there. And I really would love to hear more about your relationship with mistakes, so drop me a comment. You can also visit me at moonshotmentor.com, where you can find links to all of my social and how to work with me. A very big thank you to Lynn Chen for the video and audio editing. You can find her on social at Ms. Lynn Chen. And if you enjoy what you hear, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to my blogcast or forward it to a friend. It would help me achieve my moonshot of 5,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.